Hey people, so it's 3 in the morning now. My mind's too active, can't really get to sleep, so this seems as productive as anything. Basically in this video I want to speak about a bit about boxing. This video is predominantly for boxing fans or people interested in the sport. People even interested in observations around this and just general thoughts. Basically, I've had an interest in the sport for years. I'm interested in the anthropological side of it, history, great fighters, great fights, etc., etc. But I have to say, one aspect about boxing that has always made me, let's say, wary, is the behaviour of some fans. Actually, quite a lot of fans, in all honesty. I don't want this video to be sort of misinterpreted, so I'm going to just sort of speak spontaneous about what my thoughts are, and I'm really not interested in having sort of mudslinging contests on there, because that happens in a lot of boxing videos, and there is a very, very childish streak to a lot of so-called fans. You know, I respect academic debate on pugilistic skill, a fighter's skill, pitch against another fighter's skill, pound for pound, all that sort of thing. But, you know, in boxing videos, inevitably, you probably get this to some extent in other sports, definitely in other martial arts, but you get a lot in boxing videos, this sort of childish mudslinging, and it just gets a point of utter ridicule. And that is just the surface of what I'd like to talk about in this video, which is the lack of respect many fans have towards fighters. And from the outset, I'd just like to say it disgusts me. I don't want to talk specifically about any particular fight or any particular fighter so much. Although I will say that I've seen this with David Haye fans, I've seen it with some Ricky Hatton fans, and I'm not saying anything about those fighters, I'm talking here specifically about the fans. I've seen a lot among British fans, and frankly I think the behaviour of some so-called fans really isn't much better than that of football hooligans. There's blatant xenophobic overtones, especially when a fighter is from another country, well, particularly that. Basically, I just find a lot of British fans an embarrassment to this country, and I'm so sick of the lack of respect they show opponents of our fighters. I mean, I want to be very clear about this. I'm not an idiot. I know that in this sport, the level of energy, the level of compassion, the energy. If you're not a boxing fan and you don't follow the sport, you won't understand it. But I don't believe there's any other sport in the world that matches that sort of adrenaline and energy of a fight crowd. So I'm not naive. I think that is part of what makes the sport what it is. An energetic, enthusiastic crowd, that sort of energy of two gladiators facing each other in the ring, two men facing each other, that sort of energy of the crowd, that the anticipation of a big fight, of any fight, but especially a big fight, is really quite something. So I'm not taking away from that at all. I think what I'd just like to say is that I've seen a lot of behaviour from fans which really sickens me, a lack of respect. I mean, I really get frustrated when I see comments like, so-and-so is a card, so-and-so, you know, my grandmother could beat up so-and-so or whatever. These people really are, they're full of crap. They don't know what they're talking about. Clearly in any sport you're going to have some people who are more skilled than other people in a particular sport. Some fighters will be obscure, some fighters are going to be well known, some fighters are going to be greats. You know, you get different levels, that goes without saying. It's the same in any competitive environment. And not just in sport, you get that in working environments, you get in politics, anywhere. Competitiveness is part of human nature, and there's always going to be a hierarchy. Some people are going to be better than others. But fundamentally, I have a respect for almost every man that enters the ring. And the reason for that is a basic fact. I don't care what anyone says. For a man to enter the ring and face another man in front of thousands of people and have a fight, pitch your skills against his, I don't care what anyone says, that takes courage. It takes courage, and to say otherwise is just blatantly, it's just not true. The vast majority of people wouldn't have it in them to do that. I don't know if I could. And I'm guessing about 90% of the people who show no respect to these fighters would never ever do it themselves. They would never enter the ring. Now obviously fighters, most of the time, they have voluntarily chosen to become boxers. They know the risk involved, certainly from the health side and all that. And they also know that it's a tough sport, and they must be aware that sometimes a crowd will be hostile towards them. So obviously these guys are tough, they have tough skin, and they, most of the time, they can take it. But it's not so much about whether they can take it or not, it's the overall morality of it. I just think it's a very bad statement when people cannot respect that sort of courage. Now I appreciate people are going to back their man, and sometimes that backing can be very enthusiastic. I fully appreciate that, and I have nothing against patriotism, healthy patriotism. I have nothing against people being enthusiastic for their man, for example cheering him in a fight. Great, that's fine. What I do have a problem is if they show no respect to the other fighter. Now I'm not talking about legitimate criticism, i.e. for example if the other fighter is playing dirty, fighting dirty, then people have every right to be to protest at that, because that's if the fans don't, then that's fine. What I'm talking about is a lack of respect for absolutely no reason other than the guy is fighting their man. It just disgusts me. I'm not talking about enthusiastic fans. I'm talking about fans who just, for example, I've seen British fans deliberately sing over an opponent's national anthem. That's disgusting behaviour. It's embarrassing. It's quasi-racist. Well, it's xenophobic. It's just embarrassing. And I'm not just saying it's just the Brits. I've seen it in other countries as well. I've seen it from Australian fans, Argentine fans, sometimes from American fans. It just sickens me that fans cannot have decency in them just to respect the other man. You don't have to love a fighter. You don't even have to like him, but at least respect his courage. It just, that mindset, and it is something that puts me off the sport. I'm very interested in the sport, but it is an aspect that I have to admit I really don't like. And obviously this is a combat sport. I'm not expecting boxing fans to behave like tennis fans. I'm not stupid. I know there's going to be energetic atmosphere, people are going to be enthusiastic. That's wonderful. Without that, the sport wouldn't be what it is. I'm talking about fans that just cannot respect the other guy. It disgusts me. I mean, if you don't like him, at least, by all means support your man, but I don't know, it really gives an ugly, to me, it really overshadows all the positive sides of the sport. And the thing is, whenever I've raised this issue in forums and whatever, people are like, oh, you don't know what boxing is, etc, etc. I've been following the sport for years. I do know something about the sport. And I know a hell of a lot more than some of these so-called fans about the history of the sport. But it just sickens me with the attitude. I mean, I remember there was a user who he had actually called himself Card Zaggy. That was his username. And this guy was so anti-Joe Calzaghe that he actually felt the need to create a profile. Another occasion, Marvin Hagler was fighting in the UK. I think it was an Alan Minter fight. Don't quote me on that, I might be wrong. But the fans just demonstrated the most disgusting racism because he was a black fighter. And the Americans have a long history of racism towards fighters. They've improved a lot, I have to say. But and then I've seen fighters that actually fans throwing things at them. I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck? That just, you know, for a man to have the courage to enter the ring, then fans show disrespect by throwing things. I'm not necessarily talking about booing, because there's occasions where that's valid. If, for example, a fighter is clearly a dirty fighter, if he disrespects the fans deliberately, etc., those are occasions when he should expect boos. But I'm talking about people who just, you know, I actually think it should be mandatory in every fight for the referee. I've noticed in some fights, but I think it should be mandatory in every fight for the promoter or whoever, or the referee, to basically announce, you know, please show your appreciation for both fighters, to make that mandatory. In the end of the day, those are the men, in some cases, risking their lives for your entertainment. And yes, I appreciate people may have paid a lot of money, but you aren't the ones in the ring. It's the guys in the ring that are, in some cases, putting their lives on the line for your entertainment. Just show some damn respect, you know? Back your man. Cool, back your man. That's the nature of the sport. But it just sickens me, the lack of respect that some fans have. You know, so what I'm talking about with lack of respect is singing over national anthems, displaying racism, booing a guy who's entering the ring. It really sickens me, because I honestly think there's individual fighters I don't like as people, but I don't take away. I mean, for example, I don't like Mike Tyson much as a person. I don't like. There's other boxers I can name. David Haye, I don't like his character. There's a whole range of other fighters I don't like much. I don't have much respect as people. But that doesn't take away their courage from entering the ring as a fighter. Or in some cases, a pugilistic skill. And then, you know, when a guy loses, people are like, oh, he went down like a tub of shit, etc., etc. You know, until you've been in the ring yourself, the only people I think are qualified to say that are guys who have been in the ring themselves. You know, it just, the lack of respect I see just sickens me. And I'd like, you know, if you're a boxing fan, if you agree with me, but please voice that, because we need to raise a voice against those fans who, you know, football had to clean up its image back in the 80s and 90s when it was having a problem with hooligans. It had to clean up its image. Well, I think sometimes boxing needs to do the same. And I'm by no means generalising all fans here. There's many fans from all countries, including Britain, who support their man and they're very respectful. And they get the balance just right. But there's some fans who embarrass their country, embarrass their fighter in some cases. I'm sure the fighters in question. I mean, put it this way: if I was a fighter and I had fans who showed xenophobia and so on, I would disown them, and I wouldn't care if that cost me popularity, because I wouldn't want to be associated with that sort of yobbery. It just makes me very uncomfortable. And any comments on this video, you know, you're gay, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about basic respect here. Okay, I don't expect boxing to be like ballet dancing. I don't expect boxing to be like other passive sports. I know this is a violent combat sport, so you're going to have a different sort of fan base. I appreciate that. What I'm talking about is a lack of basic respect for men who are, and anyone who says it doesn't take courage to enter a ring, they're just full of crap. I mean, every fighter has to train mentally to prepare for that. So you're just full of shit if you say it doesn't take courage. If you don't like a guy, fine, you don't have to like him, but at least don't take away what it takes to be a fighter. You know, I've never entered a ring, so I never ever question a fighter's courage. I don't know if I could do that, and I'm honest about that. And I think most of these fans who show no respect, they've never entered a ring. Could let me know your thoughts. Cheers.